Our story begins with Kutaru. He lived in a city where not a single human remained alive, and he didn't even know where everyone had disappeared to. Yet little by little he had accepted this lonely life as his new reality, wandering aimlessly through every corner of the empty streets every night without any real reason. Until one night his eyes drifted toward an old tree hidden behind the mountain where he noticed a girl secretly doing something, and that sight sparked a deep curiosity in him. So he walked up to her and asked what she was doing there, but instead of answering she released a piercing sound straight at his face, so loud that Karu was left temporarily deaf, and before he could react she struck directly at his heart with thin, red ribbon-like threads, making him collapse on the spot. And suddenly he jolted awake gasping for air, realizing it had only been a dream. Yet the question refused to leave his mind. Who was that girl, and could she have been someone close to him in a past life? And just then his thoughts were interrupted by Dorval's voice, and when he opened the door he saw his neighbor standing there, the mother of his friend, telling him that Cory still hadn't returned home and asking for his help to find her. And Karu agreed without hesitation because this wasn't the first time Cory had gone missing, as he always somehow knew where she went, and every time she came home late he would track her phone signal and find her easily. So once again, he followed the signal into the forest near the park, calling out her name as he moved forward, when suddenly a strange animal burst out of the bushes, something Karu couldn't understand at all, so he ignored it and kept walking. And after a while he found Cory lying unconscious beneath a tree in the middle of a lake, and when he tried to wake her she didn't respond at all, her body completely limp as if she were dead. So he tried another way by pulling a small coin from his pocket and rubbing it to create a sharp ringing sound, and the moment the sound echoed her body reacted and she slowly woke up, after which Karu walked her back home. And as soon as they arrived, Cory's mother opened her eyes, looking confused, as if she couldn't remember anything, and Karu casually told Kaori to go inside and rest, keeping his distance because he was always aware of the gap between their worlds, one rich and one poor. But after leaving her there, he suddenly felt as if someone was watching him, and fear crept in, forcing him to rush home and hide under his blanket. And though the night was completely silent, his bedroom door slowly opened and someone slipped under the blanket with him, and while half asleep he felt something touch his hand before suddenly biting it, causing him to jump out of bed in panic, thinking it might have been another strange dream. Yet the lingering numbness around his ear told him it was real. So terrified he slept on the floor that night, and the next morning on his way to school a clear bite mark appeared on his hand, and Karu explained that his city was actually part of an experiment focused on forest growth and environmental recovery, where people and authorities worked entirely toward restoring nature, which made the place feel unnaturally calm and peaceful. And as he entered the classroom, a girl shot him an angry glare. Her name was Yoshino, and he couldn't understand why she was so furious, but she was known as the most notorious student in school, and she grabbed him shouting that his face showed he remembered nothing, and she was about to punch him to knock his memory back when suddenly Karu forced himself to remember what happened yesterday, realizing she had challenged him to fight on the rooftop because he constantly teased her, and he had accepted while telling her not to go home until they met, words he had completely forgotten, which only made her even angrier as she wanted to beat him badly enough to send him straight to the hospital, until Lucia, the student council president, stepped in to stop them and threatened punishment. But class was about to begin, so she quietly returned to her seat, still glaring at Karu as she left. And after 3 periods the break arrived and Kaori entered the classroom, and Yoshino casually told Karu it was time to settle things. But her tone was so oddly funny that Karu burst out laughing, accidentally spraying a bit of saliva onto her face, which only fueled her rage further as she calculated the perfect punch. And right then Kaori joined them, turning the moment playful, and just like that the 3 of them became friends, each with their own loneliness. Kaori with few friends, Yoshino as a delinquent, and Karu who talked to everyone but stayed close to no one. Yet that night Karu felt sleep paralysis again, and when he pulled away the blanket he saw the same girl from his dream biting his hand once more. And the next day at school he was so lost in thoughts about her that he wasn't paying attention and tripped over a cardboard box that had mysteriously appeared, falling hard to the ground. And when he got up he saw a girl stuck in a tree, and when he asked if she was okay, she said she was fine but couldn't get down. And although Karu offered help, she hesitated, worried he might see her underwear. But after he promised not to look, he helped her down, and she introduced herself as Chihaya, a transfer student whose story sounded strange as she claimed she was climbing the mountain with a black cat box before falling and getting stuck. And Karu showed sympathy and offered to help carry the heavy box, pushing himself with pride until his grip slipped and she fell backward, accidentally exposing her underwear. And though he apologized immediately, she ran off embarrassed and furious, calling him a pervert, only for fate to play a cruel joke by seating her right next to him in class like a romantic comedy. And when Karu foolishly brought up the incident again, she became so angry she nearly broke the desk, shocking even Yoshino with her strength, forcing Karu to introduce himself properly to calm things down, though Chihaya's first impression of him was already ruined. And when the teacher announced the Harvest Festival next month, Karu suddenly clutched his back and ran to the restroom, and when he came out a girl tried to stop him by whistling badly, and after he helped her fix it, she chased him down again to warn him not to run in the hallway, revealing herself as Chiru from the disciplinary committee, someone who already knew Karu well for causing trouble. And after some conversation she punished him by ordering him to have lunch with with her on a free day, which he agreed to. And just as that ended, a journalism club member arrived to interrogate him with reckless questions about secret entrances, which Karu calmly answered to show he was innocent. And though she left, she dropped an important paper filled with dangerous notes, making Karu realize he needed to protect his secrets better. And later, he invited Chihaya to explore the city as an apology, but she declined, later meeting a mysterious figure who warned her to hide her identity and be careful with relationships. And over the next few days, Karu grew exhausted because the mysterious girl kept biting his hands every night, leading Kaori to suggest meeting Dawn, a rumored school witch who might use real magic. And checking the reporter's paper, Karu confirmed a witch named Sedendry from the Octi Club, so he invited Kori to search for her after school, while Yoshino refused to join, and with no clues they ran around until an information broker named Shizuki handed Karu a notebook about the OCT Club, which led them to a house in the forest, confirming it as the club's base, where Karu left a note before leaving. And that night, the mysterious girl appeared again, trapping him as doors and windows refused to open, forcing him to swing a bat uselessly against an invisible barrier, until she slowly emerged from under his blanket. And as Karu screamed for Karto, the girl vanished instantly, nearly taking his soul with her. And the next day, he returned to the club to find a reply written in blood saying he would die in 2 days, shocking him deeply. Yet a survey sheet nearby caught his attention with a question asking whether he would change the world or himself if given power, leaving him lost in thought as the school bell rang. And on his way home, Chihaya ran up calling his name casually, despite knowing him only days, surprising him. And when Kari passed by busy with committee work, Karu introduced them, and they bonded quickly before Kari teased them about pet names. And Karu took Chihaya on a bicycle ride through narrow alleys and vending machines under golden sunset light, leading her to a special place, the headquarters of the world's most famous environmental organization. And after the tour, he handed her the bike and promised to see her at school again. While that night he followed a mysterious message back to school, unaware of what awaited him next. He followed the strange message he had received earlier and tried to reach the specified classroom, but every time he stepped inside, he would somehow come out in a completely different classroom. And this looping confusion continued again and again until, without realizing how, he finally ended up near the library, exhausted, where he sat down calmly beside a school vending machine and bought a can of coffee. Yet the moment he relaxed, a chilling sensation crawled up his spine, and the sound of footsteps echoed from the staircase. And as he looked up, the mysterious girl appeared in front of him once more, and suddenly disturbing memories began flooding his mind. Memories where he was repeatedly killed by her, each death leaving such fear behind that even his nightly dreams had turned into pure horror. And panic took over as Karu started running, but no matter how fast he went, the girl stayed right behind him, the school hallway stretching endlessly with no clear end, every classroom door tightly shut until his strength finally gave out and he collapsed near a chair, his vision blurring. And just then one classroom door slowly slid open, making him believe for a moment that he had been saved. So he rushed inside, only to see strange creatures pouring in from outside, chasing him relentlessly. And Karu kept running and running until he reached the stairwell, where the creatures suddenly stopped following him. And when he looked down the stairwell, it felt endless like a hollow abyss, so drained that he sat there and opened his coffee can to take a sip. But at that very moment, the mysterious girl appeared again, forcing him to run in panic and drop the coffee can into her hand. And she took a sip with curiosity, tasting it carefully, while Karu reached a massive door that led to another endless corridor, filled with echoing voices that sounded as if something was demanding to be returned, though he couldn't understand what that was. And he tried to escape using his acceleration skill, but abruptly canceled it and threw a punch at a hidden figure in the corridor, revealing a goblin-like being that openly declared it wanted to drink Karu's blood, until another being appeared and stopped it, scolding its friend before introducing themselves, the pink creature calling itself Paint, and the green one introducing itself as Gilgil, who kept apologizing repeatedly while begging to taste Karu's blood. And Karu reluctantly gave a small amount, after which both creatures guided him to an unknown place where he learned they were called dress beings. And suddenly, a loud noise erupted nearby, revealing a giant jointed monster sleeping close by, and the three tried to escape quietly. But while flying, Gilgil suddenly lost control, waking the monster, and they fled instantly, only for the monster to block them with a single limb, leaving everyone confused and frozen, until the mysterious girl appeared again, holding the coffee can. And as the monster lashed out with a tentacle, Karu used acceleration to escape its grasp, accidentally dropping the can, which angered the girl slightly, and she unleashed her red ribbons, slicing off one of the monster's tentacles before repeatedly whipping its head, pushing it into agony until it activated a laser mode, which she countered by forming a magic circle to deflect the attack. And after the battle continued, she finally used a decisive finishing move that completely destroyed the monster. But in the aftermath, Karu fell into a crack, and when he regained awareness, he saw a statue holding a note that instructed him to take it to the Octi Club. And there he finally met the Academy witch everyone talked about, who introduced herself as Shrey, a third-year witch. And Karu was far more stunned by her beauty than her existence, especially under the moonlight where she seemed unreal. And after a while, he told her everything he had experienced, though she didn't believe him and treated it like a game, asking whether he would would rather change the world or himself, to which Karu snapped back and demanded she take things seriously and help him deal with the mysterious girl who kept biting his hands, and Shrey handed him a jar claiming it chased spirits away, only for it to be a joke, followed by a paperclip she mockingly called a charm. And even though Karu grew irritated, she gave him another charm out of curiosity to see if it might actually work, and they planned to meet again the next day. While that night, Shrey also invited Chiru to join the occult club. And then in a dreamlike scene, Karu found himself among clouds where a girl named Tomoko appeared, introducing herself as a guardian charm created by Shrey to protect him, promising to help him sleep peacefully, and even joking that if she survived, they could go on a date. But then the mysterious girl appeared again. Only this time, the charm flew straight into her mouth, which she spat out before crawling under Karu's blanket. And after a short while, the charm's effect kicked in, bothering her enough to make her leave. And the next morning, Karu felt sad about Tomoko's disappearance. And when he opened the supply room door that had led him to the other world before nothing happened, and in class, he told Kari everything about the talking creatures, massive monsters, and the night's events, which she brushed off jokingly, telling him to stop taking drugs. And when Chihaya arrived, he told her too. And during break, Karu stood by the free coffee counter complaining about the taste while everyone treated him like a drug addict, until he decided to prank Yoshino by giving her strawberry ice cream topped with hot sauce, though she was already aware, and flipped the cones around until they accidentally swapped with Lucia's ice cream, which she ate without any reaction, making Karu panic and eat the entire cone himself, only for Lucia to get furious that he used her spoon, interpreting it as an indirect kiss, and she punched him so hard he went flying. And clutching his face in pain, Karu stepped outside for air, where he found Chiru sleeping under a tree, sat beside her to rest, and when the alarm rang, they both woke up, exchanged a few words, and parted. And that afternoon, Karu returned to Shrey, who was shocked that the charm actually worked, but casually tossed Tomoko into the trash, deeply upsetting Karu, making him question whether she believed in occult or supernatural things at all, to which she replied she hated people who believed in such nonsense and only took over the club because it was about to shut down and she wanted the room. And hearing this, Karu proposed a game, saying if he proved the supernatural was real, she had to accept one request, but if he failed, he would admit he was on drugs. And when she asked his request, he grinned and said he wanted to touch her chest, causing her to threaten calling the police until he desperately stopped her, and she finally agreed to the game. And that night, the mysterious girl entered Karu's room again, unhindered, slowly crawling under his blanket, but Karu suddenly farted loudly, startling her enough to flee. And the next morning, Karu returned to Shrey, insisting they prove the supernatural together. While Kori thought staying close to someone rich and powerful like Shrey might benefit her, so she agreed, and they created a website for the occult club. And when it was finished, Chihaya appeared, revealing she already had a connection with Shrey. And that night, Karu dreamed of Shrey's clumsiness until the dream shifted to the mysterious girl, who now entered his room easily as Tomoko's charms had ended, touching him shyly before leaving quietly. And the next morning, Karu asked Shrey and Tomoko for another chance, only to be told to retrieve it from the trash. And outside, he met a journalist girl named Jay, who challenged him to see who could find proof of the supernatural first. And after she left, Karu invited Chiru to the occult club for help, where she quickly blended in with the girls, annoying Shrey because of the noise. And just then, Chiru's phone rang with a call from the disciplinary committee, and as Karu joked something into her ear, she repeated it word for word into the phone without realizing it. She said she loved Karu and would always stay with him, and Karu still couldn't even process whether it was a joke or something real when the call suddenly got cut. And unfortunately, the girl on the call turned out to be Lucia, who immediately stormed into the occult club and punched Karu hard, after which Chiru stepped in and explained to everyone that it was only a joke that had gone a little too far. And then she openly said she had come to help Karu find proof of supernatural things. And hearing that Lucia also joined the club because she felt she needed to protect Chiru from a pervert like Karu, and as Karu watched everyone talking together, a quiet thought formed in his mind that he also wanted to become like someone else, because he had always been alone before, but now it felt like these people might finally change his boring life. And that was how the occult club's real activities truly began. While outside, the mysterious girl kept watching Karu from afar, holding her chest as if feeling something unfamiliar inside her heart. And over the next few days, Karu started waking up refreshed because he had many charms given by Shrey, and the girl had stopped appearing at school. And during this time, Karu made an announcement for the Harvest Festival on behalf of the Greening Committee, and although he hesitated slightly during his speech, he still managed to finish it. And after the meeting, he invited Yoshino to the festival but was flatly rejected, leaving Karu feeling down as he went to the occult club room to check the website, where he met a strange man who told him to step outside. And a little later, Shrey came out of the bathroom looking tired after a fierce fight the previous night. And just as Karu was about to recognize the man, Chihaya appeared. And the moment the man saw Shrey, his behavior completely changed as he hurriedly brought her lunch she had forgotten. And Karu politely introduced himself and learned the man's name was Kuya, Chihaya's brother, though Chihaya immediately told him to stay quiet, while Shrey said there was no need to hide anything. And Kuya explained that there were special reasons he looked after Chihaya so closely, and since they shared the same surname, Karu felt awkward calling them casually, until Shrey suggested he just call Chihaya by her name. But the moment Karu did that, Kuya glared at him and warned him not to, and the school bell rang, ending the conversation. Yet while leaving class, Karu jokingly kept calling Chihaya's name, making her brother furious, as he declared he would never like Karu. And back in class, Karu kept thinking about the strange siblings until tapping sounds broke his focus, revealing Lucia writing her assignment. And Karu asked Yoshino why Lucia always wore gloves, to which Yoshino guessed she hated touching dirty things. But Karu joked that maybe the gloves sealed a dark power, and surprisingly, Yoshino agreed as they laughed until the teacher scolded them. And after school, everyone gathered at the occult club where Karu excitedly announced someone had posted on the website, though others were more interested in snacks than ghost stories, until they read the post about a student seeing a strange creature named Sukono in the school garden, sparking jokes about its appearance and whether it was edible. And Shrey casually described it as a fat snake, though Karu felt it could be real after everything he'd seen, boldly saying that if they found Sukono, Shrey would let him touch her chest, making everyone laugh as they decided to search the garden, where Karu reached into the bushes and felt something soft and round, thinking it was the creature, only to pull out Lucia's chest and get beaten instantly. And right then an actual fat snake appeared, which Karu jumped at before Chihaya grabbed it with her strength, though it escaped again. And as Karu chased it, Chihaya stopped him and pointed out a strange woman confidently pulling the snake, who introduced herself as a part-time saleswoman and part-time rare creature hunter, admitting hunting was just for funding her luxury shopping and travel, explaining she'd taken the job because someone requested it through the occult club website, and she left laughing as lunch break ended, and everyone went their own way while Karu ate a bun and noticed Chiru sitting nearby for lunch, remembering his promise and sitting with her, where he noticed her wearing an eye patch and asked if she was sick, and after a pause she smiled and revealed her eyes were different colors, one blue and one brown, explaining people found it strange, but Karu softly told her eyes were beautiful, making her blush deeply, and after lunch Karu tossed his coffee can only to be stopped by Lucia, who made him sort trash as punishment, lecturing him about environmental protection, and after finishing Karu joked she was perfect, only to get punched again and sent flying, leaving him lying in pain until evening before dragging himself home, where he saw the mysterious girl running from something, prompting him to use acceleration and chase her across buildings, revealing his true power wasn't just speed, forcing him to hide it, and despite trying, he lost sight of both the girl and whatever chased her, until suddenly a stranger appeared behind him, summoning a wolf to attack, forcing Karu to flee into a train tunnel and up toward a mountain hole, expecting death until the wolf was suddenly killed. And when Karu came to, he was at a roadside diner with two men who calmly listened to his story, one named Sokka explaining that unknown monsters had been appearing in Green City, and while talking Karu forgot the terror of the chase, driven by curiosity about strange beings, and Sokka suggested visiting antique shops, when Chiru appeared, revealed as a regular, and after Karu showed his scratches she saw nothing, and the wounds vanished, leaving him confused and shaken. And after escorting Chiru home, Karu was confronted by Kuya again, who jokingly declared Karu his enemy, and the next day Karu had lunch with Chiru before rushing to Shrey to tell her about meeting someone knowledgeable, but calls went unanswered and everyone else gave up, leaving Karu to search alone in the autonomous district, where a red-haired man warned him about shady people, only for Karu to encounter them, until mentioning Yoshino's name changed their attitude completely and helped him reach the antique shop, reuniting him with Sokka and Chiru. And after learning Chiru had turned off her phone to save battery, Sokka noticed their closeness, prompting Karu to recall how they met when Chiru got lost. And after discussing creatures and blurry photos, they parted ways, Chiru happy seeing Karu motivated again, and before heading home she collected leftover bread from a bakery. And the next day Karu showed Shrey photos that still failed to convince her, while Chiru later asked for help playing a CD, leading Karu to give her his old music player, which she promised to treasure. And though nights stayed peaceful, Karu felt unease, sensing danger was inevitable, and suddenly in class the door slid open as the mysterious girl appeared again, visible only to Karu, biting his hand before fleeing, causing chaos. And when Karu searched for Shrey, he instead found Chiru happily singing with the player, who then took him to meet a teacher named Mishi and drove him to a hill, asking him to believe what he was about to see, leading him to a house where they waited until a couple returned, whom Chiru praised before leaving, revealing they were her family who no longer remembered her. And when Karu couldn't recall her name, she explained her power erased memories, yet he forced himself to remember her name, making her smile brightly, and she shared her painful story of accidentally erasing her parents' and sister's memories, remembering a past filled with simple happiness, fishing, outings, and working in the garden, moments that now existed only within her. Those memories were priceless to her, yet that happiness didn't last long, because one day, a creature attacked their home, leaving Chiru injured in one eye while her father was slashed from behind by a shard of debris as he tried to protect his wife and daughter. And soon after, a special task force arrived, eliminated the threat, and evacuated the family. But from that point onward, Chiru's powers slowly began to manifest and her life started to fall apart, as she was bullied in school because of her heterochromia, and her family could no longer grill fish together like before because her mother developed a deep fear of fire after the attack. And once her ability was discovered, a man came offering a huge amount of money for her to transfer into their organization, which Chiru accepted, returning home every weekend. Yet that money became the cause of growing friction between her parents, arguments she tried but failed to stop, making her believe everything was her fault, and in desperation she wished things could go back to how they used to be, a wish that triggered her power and caused her family to forget her entirely. And hearing all this, Karu felt a deep sadness for a girl who had endured so much pain, asking softly how he was still able to remember her, to which Chiru explained she had learned to control her ability. And that night they returned home together, where Karu asked Ni if he was part of the organization, receiving a vague denial paired with a subtle note that suggested otherwise. And when Karu asked whether powers were something people were born with, Ni replied carefully that the organization believed powers were created by drugs, making Karu recall the moment Chiru had looked at his wounded hand, realizing that might have been where everything began. And Ni warned him not to ask more questions, saying knowing too many secrets would only put him in danger, also mentioning that although Chiru had a lot of money, she lived very frugally, likely because she wanted to buy the house her father once dreamed of giving to the family, which made Karu reflect on how someone so small had become so strong and disciplined. And the next day back home, Karu faced another problem when Lucia had accidentally thrown a baseball forward and couldn't return it, leading to a loud argument that drew other club members, forcing Karu to return the ball to the baseball team and criticize Lucia for being overly obsessed with cleanliness, telling her that simply throwing a ball didn't make her dirty, to which Lucia snapped back that she had done nothing wrong and shouldn't be scolded, clarifying that the issue wasn't touching objects but flowers, before shoving Chihaya aside and running off, with Karu chasing her only to find her face covered in tears, realizing she herself didn't want to be this way. And the narration shifts to the past, where during one summer a girl awakened with a strange power that turned anything she wished into ash, before returning to the present where Chiru had set up the club because of a request box, and a new mystery emerged, as Karu read a letter from an orphanage describing strange events after Ash appeared, with windows breaking on their own, pets dying, teachers and children suffering, and the orphanage eventually shutting down. And the letter mentioned that 7 years earlier, a boy from that orphanage transferred to the same elementary school as the letter's author, later talking about A before dying of a serious illness, with some believing he was cursed for disturbing A's sleep, and his name was Ata, making Karu realize the timing matched their age group, and remember that Yoshino had attended that same school, prompting Karu to decide to call him, while first checking on Chihaya and Lucia, who were both clearly tense after club activities, leading Karu to believe resolving the girls' conflict came first. And when he found Chiru in the courtyard and explained everything, she stayed silent for a moment before asking if Karu truly wanted to know Lucia's secret, agreeing to tell him on one condition, that he would always remain Lucia's friend until death, a heavy promise that forced Karu to pause deeply. And by late afternoon, he set the matter aside when Karu mentioned Kishida and A, warning Karu to be careful and to handed Karu an old contract list asking him to help, leading Karu to secretly follow Lucia to the copy room and ask her to duplicate the list, which she did quickly but dropped a paper. And as Karu left, Lucia followed him because he hadn't returned it, though strangely, Karu didn't even remember printing it. And on that paper was written a single line, "Don't wake me." And the moment Karu read it, a shaded window cracked and shattered violently, making Lucia think he was pulling another trick until Karu explained everything about A, and Lucia began to believe that the breaking glass could really be A's doing, though Karu never believed A was evil, feeling instead that there was deep sorrow hidden inside her, and wanting to prove she wasn't malicious, asking Lucia to help clear the girl's name. And when they shook hands, Lucia froze in shock because it had been a long time since she had touched anyone. And on the way home, rain began to fall. Lucia opened her umbrella, and suddenly, an explosion rang out as a streetlight burst, revealing Shaheen standing below, triggering painful on Lucia since she had already told him to control things through the directory listed girl. And the next day, Lucia didn't come to school and couldn't be reached until a nosy reporter named Jono appeared, claiming she wanted to help people trapped in supernatural phenomena, leaving Karu a report and promising to return the favor someday. And as Karu read it carefully, he traced another man who had encountered A, but the recordings and stories turned out to be exaggerated, leaving Karu disappointed as it ran far deeper than he thought. And when he turned, he saw Lucia fainted, later waking up at Karu's home, where he explained he had removed her coat to keep her warm, dangerous, relying on gloves as the only thing that kept others safe, though deep down she truly believed she herself was dirty. And when Karu tried to comfort her, she pushed him away and accidentally touched his arm with her power. And after escorting her home, Karu went to the restricted area filled with toxic waste warnings, ignored them, and ending Ashita, and finally Shahi, whose photo shattered the moment he saw it, prompting Karu to greet Aya rather than Lucia, having figured everything out through the contract list, realizing the curse activated when listed contacts were reached, affecting Yoshino and Lucia. And Lucia admitted she had broken the glass to warn Karu to stop investigating, but his obsession with solving Shahi's mystery was too strong, leading Lucia to reveal her power, emitting toxins fertly to stop the investigation before her shameful past was exposed. But the area filled with poison and Karu began collapsing as he was poisoned, only to apologize to Lucia for not being strong enough sooner, then rewriting his own cells using his power to become immune, fully recovering in moments, shocking Lucia, and without explaining anything, he simply held her hand and told her she was no longer alone and didn't need to run because she still had everyone in the occult club. Words that finally broke Lucia's walls as she cried and hugged him tightly, releasing years of buried pain until men in suits rushed in. Lucia calmly telling Karu not to worry, shifted to show Miss Nishi facing Karu. She was being yet there was another organization called Gaia that stood in direct opposition, believing Oki should be used to return the planet to its original state no matter the cost. And this clash between Guardian and Gaia was the true conflict unfolding in the shadows. And after telling him all this, Nishi warned Karu that if he ever casually agreed but added one condition, that Lucia would make him a bet, standing there in a maid outfit holding a lunch tray, leaving him speechless because she looked away in embarrassment while Karu smiled and praised her outfit and effort, his words only making her more flustered until she lightly slapped him and told him to stop, after which they sat down calmly to eat together, Karu praising the food and making Lucia finally relax as she explained she had made the bento with all her heart but couldn't taste it herself because of the poison in her body. So this time Shiro had helped by creating a special medicine that allowed Lucia to test it, and through this process their friendship grew deeper, with Shiro being Lucia's only real friend, both at Guardian and at school, prompting Karu to jokingly ask if he meant nothing, making Lucia smile shyly as Karu reassured her that now she had him and the entire occult club, which made Lucia emotional even though a small tension with Chihaya still lingered in her heart, until Karu gently held her hand and told her everything would be fine and suggested she meet Chihaya after lunch. And in the club room, Lucia and Chihaya faced each other in silence before bowing together and apologizing, forgiving each other and becoming friends again, with Chihaya teasing Lucia about getting so close to Karu, and Lucia smiling as she said he was her friend and that after being alone for so long she might have forgotten how to keep proper distance, making Shiro jokingly cling to Karu as if claiming him, though it was clear Lucia's influence was on a different level. And Karu stood up and announced that the occult club was officially reactivated with a new mystery, a legendary sword stuck somewhere in Green City that only a true hero could pull out, sending everyone rushing into investigation mode, their first stop being a candy store where the sword had been stuck for 10 years, until Yoshino arrived proudly declaring he had trained all that time just to pull it out, only for Sia to casually yank it free in seconds using brute strength, shocking everyone further when the sword instantly snapped in half, prompting Karu to joke that the mystery was solved, and their next target became an abandoned mansion filled with strange noises, where the club carefully entered only for Chihaya to suddenly fall, causing Karu to rush to help and accidentally open a hidden box full of embarrassing items, making Chihaya scream and punch him in anger, sending him crashing into another box containing a toy animal that began playing music, revealing that the eerie sounds came from that toy, and solving mystery number 2, followed by a third case involving screams heard at school at midnight, leading the club to sneak inside at 12 only to meet Jania, a tablet journalist, and discover the source was actually Karu's friend training alone in the classroom at night, solving the third mystery. And days later, Karu found new clues in the forest where things looked like a picnic at first, Kuya promising to cook for everyone except Karu, making Shiro suspicious but still trusting him. And when Karu asked who would join, only Chiru agreed, while Lucia warned Chiru not to go just to please Karu, yet Chiru insisted it was her own choice, leading Karu to decide the whole club would go together that weekend. And on Saturday, everyone gathered at the meeting point, excited, especially Kairi, who brought her guard dog that turned out to be a strange dog-like creature they named Mout, the same odd being seen before, who spun around to show off and sent Karu flying, making everyone laugh before entering the forest, where Mout found a river, and Karu suggested following its flow to reach their destination, warning not to drink the water unless boiled, though Kiro drank it anyway, saying it was clean, until deeper in the forest a strange smell filled the air, making breathing difficult, and Shiro spotted a fleeing two-headed creature with Lucia and Mout chasing after it, eventually discovering a toxic dump area releasing chemical gas, prompting warnings to stop because it seemed like the main source of pollution. And when Kiro's captured two-headed rat died instantly upon contact with the chemicals, everyone realized the strange creatures were mutations caused by toxic pollution, making Karu hesitate about whether to report it. And after burying the creature, they headed back, when Karu noticed a familiar tree, and suddenly the mysterious girl appeared again, whom he chased and finally caught, only to experience intense flashbacks of being hugged by one girl and attacked by a white-haired girl, overwhelming him until the club arrived and the girl vanished, leaving Karu silent as they returned at night. And unable to sleep, he went back to the club room where Shiro was also awake, and though he came to write a report, he decided not to publish it, discussing with Shiro how humans had damaged Earth, with Shiro warning that one day it might be beyond saving, while Karu believed there would always be people who fought to protect it, joking that factories should be shut down, only for Shiro to smile and say an easier way would be removing humans themselves. And the next day, Karu learned from Jania about the toxic area, but before she could reveal more, she disappeared, with only her backpack found days later, shocking the club and leading the school to decide to shut it down, making everyone sad as Chiru remembered Jania fondly, though she insisted the closure was temporary and blamed the decision on the case, especially since Jania had often written about Karu and challenged him, and because Karu was the last person to see her, people quickly blamed him. Yet Karu refused to accept punishment for something he hadn't done, passionately telling everyone they had to protect this place where he first felt he belonged, inspiring the club to stand together and decide not to give up, agreeing that if they found Jania, they might save the club, since the official search had already given up. And so they prepared their gear and entered the forest again, following faint traces Kiro discovered that soon faded, realizing Jania had tried to erase her tracks, leaving them shocked about what she was hiding from. And when Chiru said she needed the restroom, the girls went together, leaving Karu alone, waiting 10, 20, 30 minutes before panic set in, and he went searching, spotting a suspicious man who vanished into bushes just as a pack of wolves appeared and attacked him, forcing Karu to fight desperately until claws burst from his hands, and he tore through the lead wolf, making it vanish as the others fled, leaving him stunned but without time to rest as he rushed to find the others, hearing Lucia scream and finding her and Chiru surrounded by monsters, drawing their weapons and fighting as a team, with Shiro healing Karu while Lucia held the front line, realizing the monsters were controlled by Gaia, likely searching for the same key Nishi mentioned, and once healed, Karu was told to find the others while they held the monsters back, and trusting them, he ran into the night, soon encountering Chihaya, who mistook him for a bear and swung a wooden plank at him. She starts hitting him wildly, and Karu grabs her, gathering everyone together and urgently telling them to run right now, but before they can move, a massive monster descends from the sky above them, and Karu shouts for them to escape and meet Shiro and Lucia outside, while the monster lashes out a long tentacle toward Kawari, yet Karu steps forward and blocks it with his arm, telling Kawari to run as he faces the creature alone, the tentacle wrapping around his arm, draining his blood and making him scream in pain, and Karu cries out as agony tears through him, but his claws emerge again and he bites through the tentacle, severing it, though even after that the monster remains relentless, and Karu keeps striking it over and over as his strength slowly drains away, until suddenly the mysterious girl appears once more and in a single strike cuts the monster cleanly in two, and when she approaches Karu, flashes of her dying scenes from the past flood his mind, making him panic and prepare to attack her, but Kawari stops him, and Karu watches in confusion as the girl leaves without a word, unable to understand how Kawari was even able to see her, and Ni grabs Karu's hand and brings him forward, yet the air grows unbearably tense as Shiro and Lucia stand opposite Shiro and Sia's group, and it is revealed that when Shiro and Sia arrived earlier, the monster didn't attack them at all, and neither of them felt fear, forcing Chiru to finally tell the truth that she herself is a member of Gaia, the enemy of Guardian Hunters, and hearing this, Lucia steps forward in rage, but at that moment Kuya appears, declaring that everything is over and taking both girls away, and Karu collapses from exhaustion and falls unconscious, and the next day he wakes up at home to an eerie quiet, only to arrive at school and realize all the girls are gone, his calls and messages unanswered, his best friend noticing something has changed inside him and asking what happened, yet Karu says nothing, and slowly people begin disappearing from his life, days passing with Jai still missing and everyone else gone, leaving Karu's life even lonelier and duller than before, the biggest mystery being why Kairi also stopped coming to school, and though Karu stays silent, Yoshino senses something is wrong and tells him to ask for help anytime, after which Karu begins thinking deeply about his power, realizing it isn't just physical enhancement but something far more complex, and through focus he summons his claws, testing them and discovering they are incredibly sharp and fast, beginning to train with them until the mysterious girl suddenly appears again in front of him, trying to say something important, the situation feeling dangerously serious, but she collapses unconscious before she can finish, and the next day at school the teacher announces that Jai has been found in a hospital in a nearby city, though her memory is still hazy, and Karu thinks her family might move away after this, meeting Shiro who came only to say goodbye, possibly for the last time before disappearing from his life, leaving Karu standing silently, unable to stop her, and now he goes to school every day and returns home alone, until one night he comes home to find his room completely trashed, and a red ribbon leading straight inside, and upstairs the mysterious girl appears again and finally tells him her name is Kairi, remembering only that much while everything else has been erased from her memory, except one thing, that there is an important mission connected to Karu, and she needs his help, and the next morning Karu wakes up to Kairi biting his hand, gets ready for school while she still doesn't remember who she is or what she must do, and Karu tells her to look herself up online and they'll talk later, but when he reaches class he is stunned to see Kairi sitting there in a school uniform attending class, having already fought with Yoshino, forcing Karu to pull her aside where she explains she read everything online and now wants to study with him, revealing she can freely change her clothes using her power, leaving Karu with no choice but to show her around school, starting with the cafeteria where she hates the food and fixates only on coffee, shouting at the staff until Karu drags her out. And then they go to the park where they meet Jai, who shockingly remembers nothing at all, and Karu sits with her trying to help her recall, but her memory doesn't return, until she pulls out a memory card from her pocket saying it might be what Kairi was looking for, handing it to Karu, and before leaving reminding him of the game she once beat him in and suggesting they play again when she gets home. And as Karu checks the contents of the memory card, both factions begin moving, with Gaia, revealed to be the green marble conglomerate, holding a meeting to choose a new synth, while Rei meets Chia and a small girl and declares that both factions' target is now Karu. And elsewhere, Kairi's whereabouts remain unknown while on the Guardian side. Shiro and Lucia finally capture the monster responsible for Shiro's family's destruction, killing the human controlling it and discussing how Gaia plans to release many monsters into the city during the Harvest Festival, while Kuya captures Penti and Gi for their mischief. And inside the memory card, Jai uncovers the truth about Gaia being hidden within Green City, with journalists confirming Gaia's involvement in all supernatural disasters. And as Karu watches this, Kawari approaches the laptop wanting to watch a movie, but freezes when she sees the images. And then Karu receives a message from Kawari saying she's alive and will return to school soon, filling him with relief, unaware that Kawari is actually building an army in the forest for a strange mission. And the next day during a holiday, Karu goes shopping for Kairi's clothes, not knowing three factions are watching him: Gaia's creatures, Karto's mount, and a red-haired guardian agent. And he takes Kairi to an antique shop to meet Sokka, only to learn he has already left. And when Kairi senses someone following them, Karu pulls her into an alley to escape all three factions, meeting Wise Gang, who agree to help and give him a shortcut to the next town. And after thanking them and warning about Karto's situation, the factions clash violently behind them, allowing Karu and Kairi to escape, though Kairi begins acting strangely without coffee, clinging to Karu and making odd noises until he rushes to buy her coffee from a vending machine, where he meets Lucia, who warns that both Guardian and Gaia are watching Kairi closely. And later, after chaos erupts in the city, Karu and Kairi rest in the park, but on the way home, the blonde man returns, shocked that Karu killed his monster, summoning dogs to attack only for Kairi and Mount to intervene, forcing Karu to flee with her, and back home sensing an intruder they search until realizing only their coffee stock is safe, discovering Pan and Gil attempting to break in, locking them up for interrogation as the danger around Karu continues to close in from every direction. Everything seemed to be falling apart at once, yet in that chaos, Karo still tried to hold everyone together as Kavari suddenly started striking wildly, and Karo caught her, gathered everyone, when death appeared again, and Kari called Karo to meet in the forest, where the truth was finally revealed inside a secret base, that Kari was Earth itself and Kavari her guardian, neither Gaia nor Guardian. And as factions prepared for war, sacrifices were made, alliances shifted, and during the Harvest Festival, everything collapsed into disaster, with monsters invading, cities burning, and Karo facing impossible choices, using forbidden power to fight, watching friends fall, Earth screaming in pain, the world breaking apart, and in the end, as everyone vanished one by one, only Karo and Kari remained, as she trusted him to save everything, and with tears and silence that branch of the story closed, bringing this season to its end. So friends, like the video and subscribe the channel because next part of this anime is coming soon.